Hola, bienvenidos a Lightspeed Spanish. Last week, whilst I was in the country, I talked about the 4 levels of learning. And I mentioned that I was going to talk about Mount Stupid. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And how we all need to get off Mount Stupid as quickly as we can. Hablamos de todo en la segunda parte. So there's this wonderful graph going around called the Dunning-Krueger graph, and that explains the 4 levels of learning in a pictorial form. And it describes the journey that we have when we're learning Spanish, where we start off, how we move forward, and what happens to us on that journey. As I mentioned before, learning Spanish is not something you can put a window of time on. It's a lifetime's job, depending on what you want to learn and how well you want to learn it. But the process through that journey is something all of us have to go through. So where does it start? Well, at level 1, which is you don't know, you don't know. That's where we start off. Can you speak Spanish? Dunno, I'll give it a go. And what happens is this. We go to a class, we pick up something and we start learning, and we get a few verbs under our belt. We know a little bit. We're like that. Yeah, hola, ¿qué tal? Yeah, muy bien, me llamo Gordon. And that's when we find ourselves on Mount Stupid. What is Mount Stupid? Mount Stupid is the place where you don't know how much you don't know. You've started off, you've got a handful of stuff, you can manage a few words and you think, hey, I've got this Spanish pretty much sorted. That's called being on Mount Stupid. Why? Because you think that you know it, and the only reason that you think that you know it is because you haven't studied enough. And then what happens? And this happens to all of us. I mean, there is nothing more confident than a beginner. There's nobody more confident than a beginner. Trust me, I've met lots of beginners. I've been a beginner. We are very confident. Why? Because we've only got a small amount of information. And so we manage that really well. What, we can conjugate a verb in present tense. Fantastic. And then we find that there are 75 other tenses. There aren't, but that's what it seems like. And then we fall from Mount Stupid all the way down into the Valley of Despair. This is level 2 in the levels of learning. This is where you know that you don't know. The Valley of Despair is a place where you say, well, I thought I had that sorted, but clearly not. That can happen in many ways. Just by going to a class and the teacher lands something, today we're going to go into the past or we're going to go into the future. And you think, oh, I thought I only needed to speak in present tense for the entire time I'm speaking Spanish. And it comes as a big shock. In the Valley of Despair, you catch a glimpse of everything that you've got to learn. And you feel despair. And we've all been there. Is it a bad place? No, it's a fantastic place. Why? Because you realise, hang on a minute, I'm not there. There's stuff that I need to do. What happens? Well, 90% of beginners fall away when they hit the Valley of Despair. On Mount Stupid, all the beginners are there. Yeah, we're great. Si somos la leche. And then in the Valley of Despair, the vast majority of people say, it's too big of a job. It's too big of a job. And the small percentage stay. The stalwarts, those who really, really know how to dig in and get stuff done. I'm guessing that you are one of those. Those people that say, no, I'm here for the long run. It's going to be hard and I'm feeling tremendous amounts of despair. But I'm continuing. And where do you continue to? Well, you then start to climb up the slope of enlightenment. And if you notice, it's like that. Okay? It's like that. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's like that. That means it's an uphill struggle. It's going to be tough. And if you look at the graph, the slope of enlightenment is quite long. Mount Stupid is very short-lived. The Valley of Despair is fairly short-lived. But that slope is long. How long is that slope? Well, it's like asking how long is a piece of string. It's as long as it takes. The slope of enlightenment is level 3 in the levels of learning. That's where you know that you know. Everything is conscious. You have to think about everything that you do. It takes blinking ages to make a sentence because you've got to think about it. You've got to do 4 lots of translation in your head. It's a tough place. But if you keep climbing, you keep climbing and keep climbing, then you get to what's called the Plateau of Sustainability. That's where you don't know that you know. It becomes natural. And that Plateau of Sustainability is great. It's a lovely place to be. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep my Spanish going. I'm just gonna keep it rolling out because I've got it controlled and everything. However, what the Dunning-Krueger graph doesn't show is beyond the Plateau of Sustainability. That, my friends, is the good news and the bad news. Because what happens is this. You get to the Plateau of Sustainability and you think, hey, I've arrived. Look, I can see across the plain. Everything's cool. My Spanish is the dog's doings. Soy un crack. And then somebody from the south of Spain has a conversation with you and you can't understand anything. And suddenly you find yourself in the valley of despair yet again. All right, the climb out of it isn't as hard because you've already done a lot of work, but you still have to climb back out again. Because this is the challenge that we have. The more that you get into your Spanish, the more you realize that there's an awful lot that you don't know. And so sustaining it is okay as long as you don't go outside of your own little world. As soon as you step out of your bubble, then you're going to find a Spanish that you don't know and you don't understand. And off you go again, up the slope of enlightenment. And it's for that reason that learning Spanish is a lifelong progression. It's a lifelong task. There's nothing bad about that. In fact, it's fantastic. Let me tell you that in the years that I've been learning Spanish, the actual act of learning a language has brought me a vast knowledge of the Spanish culture, has brought me una familia política española. I've got a Spanish family now that I didn't have before. It has introduced me to so many people. It's given me a business that I can run. It's been the biggest gift ever. Just thinking, I'm going to learn this language. I didn't know what was involved. I didn't know what it was going to bring me. I just thought, I love this language. Me encanta el español is what I thought. I've got to learn it. I've got to learn it. And I didn't know why. Now I do. Now I know why. But at the time it was like, hey, let's just jump onto Mount Stupid and let's see what happens. I promise you that if you learn Spanish, it will change your life for the better. How do I know that? Because I've got hundreds of examples of all the students that I've watched learning Spanish who have then changed their life and found Spanish friends and married Spanish girls and had Spanish people enter into the family. It's just non-stop. Pues eso es el gráfico del Dunning-Krueger. Espero que te haya gustado y por favor, decidme lo que opináis de eso. Tell me what you think in the comments of that and where you are and how many people who are watching this are in the valley of despair. Let me know. Hasta luego, chicos.